Hello, good morning. 大家你好。我原来想要用那个中文讲话吧，但是在这里那个活动的老板说我的中文不够努力了，所以他们让我讲英文了。没办法。I am going to talk about innovation and technology. Everyone's talking about innovation and technology, right? I suppose it's the theme of the conference. But I want to talk about something. I think I'm an old planner. I'm a planner for many years. So I want to be practical for all the creative people. I want to talk about the process, not about the definition. I want to talk about how we can use technology and innovation and creativity. Now, the reason why I want to do this is because a few months ago, I was in a workshop with one of our big clients. And it was an interesting thing. It wasn't a workshop run by a creative agency. It was run by a partner agency. And what they did is they started the workshop. This is a packaged goods client, FMCG. They started the workshop by saying, right, first, let's hear about the new technology. And before we'd even discuss the consumer insight or the business problem or the marketing opportunity, we all sat there listening to the latest technology. It made me think, what's the purpose or the meaning of doing this? It was as if to say, because it's new, it's right. Because it's new, it's better. And that made me think about the process of creativity, the process in this day and age of technology. What should it be? What should come first? Now, to illustrate this point, I want to talk a little bit about something that we did at Cannes earlier this year. So we hosted a section with Framestore, which is the production house that made Gravity. And I think you'll all agree, Gravity was a spectacular film. It had emotion. It was a great story. It was beautiful to look at. And it was interesting to hear from Tim Weber, the creative director at Framestore who produced this. He actually said that the process of making this, very early on in the process, where they were planning the film, they were actually using a process similar to Lord of the Rings movie, where they had, most of it was shot in live action, and there'd be some green screen moments, and then there would also be a few computer-generated effects to really be super eye-popping, and to make those special moments, make them just really kind of burst out. But then they said, before they even started making the film, they said, why do we have to do it this way? Maybe we can do it differently. What if we made the whole thing in the computer? And that's what they did. As you can see, they actually shot their faces, and they put the faces on to the computer-generated bodies. Sandra Bullock and George Clooney, they didn't do any of those things. It's all happened in the computer. And the reason why they said they decided to do that was because it opened up the storytelling process to more creative options. It was creativity applied early to the problem. It led to more creative results. I thought that was really interesting. Now, that makes me think of one of my favorite quotes from Edward de Bono. Does anyone know Edward de Bono? Anyone heard of him? Yeah? Edward de Bono? Ranny's heard of him? Edward de Bono is a great thinker and theorist about creativity, and most of the things he says are very nice and kind, but he had one quote that's actually quite critical, a little bit challenging for creative people. This is his quote. Edward de Bono said, "There are many people calling themselves creative people, but they are merely stylists. And what separates creative people from stylists is an inquiring mind. Not just people who want to reshape or restyle an existing solution, but people who say, just like Framestore, why does it have to be this way?" I think this is a very interesting perspective in this age of innovation and technology, the value of having an inquiring mind, and how do we use that. Now, so this brings me back 100 years to Albert Lasker, the guy who started FCB, the father of modern advertising. He's called the man who sold America. And he did one of the most amazing things I just learned when I joined FCB. He helped to create orange juice. Believe it or not, I had no idea that FCB created orange juice, but it's a true story. I'll tell you how it happened. He had a client, the Californian Orange Growers Association. They had a very typical business problem. We want to sell more oranges. And in fact, they were growing so many oranges, they couldn't sell them. They were chopping down the trees to reduce the supply to put the price up. So that was their solution. And they said, Albert, you've got to help us to sell more oranges. And so Albert said, well, hang on. Maybe the solution isn't to find new advertising ideas to sell more oranges. Maybe the solution is to sell a different product from oranges. That was his inquiring mind. And what he did, he introduced his Orange Growers Associate client to his packaging client and said, why don't you turn the oranges into a drink? And he invented orange juice. They, for the first time in 1920-something, squeezed oranges into a package, put it on a shelf. That became Sunkist, one of the world's most famous brands today. He invented a category that came from a guy in advertising, invented one of the biggest categories that there is today. And here's the first ad. You don't eat an orange, you drink an orange. Now guess what happened to the business results? 100% increase in demand because they created an entirely new business. People still wanted to eat oranges, but now they could have a second use of oranges. They could drink them too. I think this is brilliant. This to me is innovation 100 years ago. What was the technology? Packaging. So, I mean, what I'm really saying here is that true creativity, I'm talking to creative people here, this is meaningful to me and to us. True creativity, I believe, it challenges the conventional practice and the established thinking. If it doesn't do that, we're just stylizing. We're just reordering something that's already known. I don't think that's very creative. Now, to make this point about how technology can go wrong, I don't know if people have seen this Cummins and Parter's spoof video. They created a joke about how people are getting a bit too obsessed maybe with creativity and technology and innovation. They created a fake project called the world's first crowdsourced 3D printed QR code live stream via GoPro to a smartphone or tablet device drone delivery ticket system project. This is their project, to laugh at all of this technology, blah, blah. Let's see what they say.
So then what they did is they had the QR codes.
World's first way to truly explore a city.
World's first? So I'm going to say world's first.
Being first has always been key, and I think it doesn't really matter what it's first with, but being first wins the day, because people talk about firsts.
The world's first crowdsourced 3D printed QR code live stream via GoPro to a smartphone or tablet device drone delivery ticket system project. So you just hashtag that simple. Then you geotag where you are located. Then the drone will fly towards you, and as it's flying towards you, it is live streaming a QR code being printed by a 3D printer. When it arrives towards you, obviously you've downloaded the QR code. All you have to do, it's so simple, you just scan in the QR code that's been live streamed. It's how easy is that, and you get a ticket to this thing.
Well, we obviously like to put technology first.
Technology is not so much overriding the idea, it is the idea.
You know, you thought about the customer from that end. Now we just find technology that we can bolt shit onto.
Like if the nanotechnology was the nano, if you nanoed that technology, that's what it's all about now. I think, you know.
It will light up over.
If we just nanoed the nanotechnology and we nanoed it, that's what it's all about. I mean, I think it's a funny thing, right? Do you think it's funny? I mean, they've got a serious point. If you start with the technology, then maybe you get lost and who knows what you're saying. Now, I want to make that's a cautionary tale for me. I think that is an example of what not to do, right? I think they're laughing at all of this stuff. By comparison, the rest of my talk is going to be about what I think is a really great application of technology because it's in the right order. It's not the idea, it enables the idea. So here's a few examples that we've all seen from this year. I think are fantastic ideas. We didn't do these, but I love them. My old agency, this beautiful thing for British Airways, the wonder of a child looking at a plane passing overhead, the Sweetie campaign from the Philippines, a computer-generated child. Fantastic, beautiful, moving. The social swipe, with one swipe of your card, feed people in Africa. Very strong humanity, the emotion you feel when you do that, enabled by technology. One of the most brilliant things, that not created by an agency, everyone here needs to remember, this was created by Unilever themselves. Unilever feels that agencies are not creating ideas like this. This is, in case anyone doesn't know, it's a radio, it's an entertainment service that you get for poor people who don't have a computer. You dial the number and you listen to a few ads about Unilever products, and then they tell you jokes, they play you music. I think it's a brilliant insight into a very real problem. But agencies, we're not thinking about this, and we need to. Technology done right. Okay, I'll skip over that one. So, to me, I wanted to talk about the process. To me, all of these examples are technology and humanity put together because they are not obsessed with technology. They're thinking about the idea. They're thinking about the humanity, the emotion, the heart. And to me, we can do this if we apply creativity early. Right? Not only in execution, but to the fundamental idea, like Albert Lasker did with orange juice. Apply it early. What's the problem? What's another way of thinking about the problem? Now, I want to share with you some examples of how we've done this at FCB over the last year. Of course, not everything we've done has been wonderful, but we think these are some great examples for us. So this first one comes from New Zealand, and it's all about music and sport. Now, as we know, as we know from scientists now know that when you listen to music, the tempo of the music, the tonality of the music, it changes your sporting performance. This is proven by science. If you have the music at the right tempo, you actually perform better. That's why now it's very hard to see athletes not listening to music. They really know how this works. Unless, of course, you're a swimmer. What are you going to do? Me bumfa. So what they did at Sony, they created a wonderful product that you could take into the pool with you. So what the agency did, they also found a way to match the client's challenging mindset by challenging the way we package the product. We didn't create a campaign about a product, we made the product a campaign, and we delivered the whole message in the package. We challenged the fundamental assumption about how we do marketing. Here's a video.
With the Sony waterproof Walkman, swimmers can now experience the benefit of music while they swim. It's a groundbreaking product. Yet after a traditional launch campaign, sales in New Zealand were anything but. So we needed to raise the profile of this undiscovered product in order to drive sales to a disparate audience of swimmers, all with a budget of just 20,000 New Zealand dollars. To do this, we flipped the category on its head and created something they'd never seen before, the bottled Walkman. This then allowed us to hijack something swimmers would find in every fitness center the world over, transforming the humble vending machine into a pop-up high street retailer that got the swimmers talking and allowed them to buy the product as easily as buying a bottle of water. Word of the bottled Walkman then spread across the globe. So what began as a highly targeted campaign ended up reaching a potential audience of more than 500 million people.
Cool, the bottled Walkman. Not a small-scale innovation, a proper thing done big scale, sold everything out. This next one is from Brazil, where everything is creative, right? So at FCB has a relationship with Beiersdorf that makes NEVIA, the Hufu Pimpai, the skincare Pimpai. for 130 years. It's amazing how long this relationship is. Now, NEVIA, as we all know, is a brand that's famous for protecting your skin, right? It looks after your skin, moisturizes it, protects it from the sun. What they did in Brazil, I love this campaign because, again, it challenges the assumption of how NEVIA defines protection. It's a protection brand, but protects what? Protects your skin? What else can they protect? What can they do for parents that's going to be of value, that really helps people to understand NEVIA is about protection? They help to protect the children on the beaches. I'll show you how. Good music. Cool, huh? That won the Mobile Grand Prix because it's lovely, but because it's really fresh and because it's true, super, super true to NEVIA and protection. That's why. It's not about technology. Technology just enables it. This next one comes from Lima in Peru. And a little bit like Beijing, when there's no APEC, the air quality in Peru is not very good. It's developing country, lots of construction, and the air is dirty, all that kind of stuff that, we know about in Beijing and other places. So what they did is they had a relationship with UTEC, which is the University of Technology in Peru, in Lima. And the university wanted to showcase how clever their engineering school was, and they're looking for something to do. So what they did is they worked with FCB, and FCB found something they could challenge, an assumption that we could flip and turn on its head. And that was the idea that construction sites will make the air dirty. It'll make the air worse. They challenged that whole thing with their ingenuity and a very ingenious way of doing it, as you'll see in this video.
In Peru, the construction industry is booming. This is a country in development, but there's a downside. Constructions in almost every block are a source of pollution. The consequences of this can be life-threatening diseases such as cancer, which according to WHO, World Health Organization, are caused by solid particles in the environment, endangering the health of area residents and construction workers.
Anteriormente el aire, claro, en las obras era más sofocado, ¿no? Como ustedes mismos ven, se trabaja con polvo, los productos químicos.
The University of Engineering and Technology of Peru, UTEC, is building a new campus as well. A university that wants to change the world through engineering could not be a part of this without looking for a solution. So UTEC and the agency created the first billboard that purifies the air more than 1,200 trees. The billboard is installed in the middle of the construction site, communicating the creation of the new campus while producing 100,000 cubic meters of clean air. The technology attached to the billboard absorbs all the polluted air around it, filters it through a water system, and returns pure air to the surrounding areas. The cleaner air reaches a radius of 5 blocks, benefiting all residents of the construction area as well as the workers.
Para los trabajadores, para respirar un poco más, un aire casi puro.
We showed how construction and clean air can really go together. We also managed to promote UTEC, showing that technology and engineering really have the power of solving problems. This is a big call to all future engineers that believe in this culture. That's why applications increased 14% in 2014. UTEC, we will continue to change the world through engineering.
What do you think about that one? It's quite good, right? They improved the air quality for a 5-block radius. They're not just doing it for the sake of doing it. It really had a benefit. So I love that. Fake rainbows. This next one is for Coca-Cola in South Africa. And as some of you might know or have heard, South Africa, since the white people stopped running it, since the black people took over, they call it the Rainbow Nation. It's a nation of all these different kinds of people, so the Rainbow Nation. And it's been 20 years since the Rainbow Nation started, and Nelson Mandela. So Coca-Cola, being the company that makes happiness happen, wanted to help celebrate with South Africa the big 20-year anniversary of the Rainbow Nation. Now, I think ordinarily in our industry, what we would do if we wanted to do something about a rainbow, we would find normally a way to paint a rainbow or to print it or to, you know, that's what we do with rainbows. You know, we'd draw it somehow. But what they did is they challenged the idea that the rainbow has to be fake.
"20 years ago, South Africa held its first democratic election. Nelson Mandela was elected into office. And Bishop Desmond Tutu coined the phrase the Rainbow Nation. A rainbow represented the diversity that made South Africa great. We chose one of the largest skyscrapers in downtown Johannesburg to share our message. To remind South Africans what the rainbow symbol stood for. It took a bunch of fancy calculations, a lot of testing, and a little bit of magic. So, in the end, we didn't just show the symbol, we created it. A giant rainbow that appeared above our billboard. People stopped to witness the addition to the skyline. This rainbow is created by capturing the sun at a specific angle through the mist of non-drinkable recycled water.
In South Africa we say I am who I am because of other people. We call that Ubuntu.
Giving the Rainbow Nation the opportunity to mark 20 years of democracy.
There are so many small kindnesses between South Africans.
I think this is one of the friendliest countries in the world, and I think that makes me smile every day.
Creating a little moment of happiness.
Okay. See what advertising people can do? We can make rainbows. Isn't that awesome? We can make rainbows. I think when I saw this, I couldn't believe it. This next one challenges a couple of things to me. It challenges the idea that you need technology to be innovative, and it challenges the idea that you actually need a lot of money to create a big effect. This is a great story. It's also from New Zealand. There's a charity in New Zealand called the Brothers in Arms. It's a wonderful charity that raises money for homeless children, for orphans, kids with no parents. And it's very difficult these days, you know, to raise money for charities, as I think we know, right? Everyone's so skeptical and we don't trust where the money goes. So it's really hard to get the money. So they knew this, that's the barrier. So what they did is they challenged the way of raising a charity. They didn't just go out there and give the normal story of showing the chong chong xiaopengyo, you know, the very miserable little children. They did it in a very innovative way by targeting people with money, the banks.
Charities are having to come up with innovative ways of attracting attention and persuading us to part with our dollars as times get tight financially.
Brothers in Arms is a charity that pairs vulnerable youth with mentors. But securing corporate funding through traditional channels was proving all but impossible and expensive. So instead of cold calling like New Zealand's 25,000 other charities, we turned digital bank transfers into a new media channel and in doing so made businesses call us. We made a series of $1 deposits into the accounts of potential sponsors using their publicly available bank details. Here we encoded a message to the usually hard-to-reach CFO. it looked like this on the company bank statement. $1. Look at it. It's nothing. What could you possibly do with it? Not much, probably. But we can. With $1, we can do amazing things. Things that change young Kiwi lives. And you can help. Sign up as a sponsor for 2014. Make every dollar make a difference. BIA Youth Mentoring. Give us a call on 09 579 8165.
So clever.
But here's the real catch. Since our message couldn't be balanced against any invoice, it became an impossible to ignore reconciling error, which had to be resolved. The easiest way to do this was simply to return our money. And to do that, they had to call us, where we closed the deal.
Okay, so we got your message.
Well, I certainly haven't seen anything like this before.
How do I get your $30 back to you?
You guys are sneaky bastards, aren't you?
I love that one. I think it's got all the right things going on about it. Okay. This next one is one of the most favorite things that we've done in FCB in this last year. It's a very emotional story, I think. It goes back to my earlier point about technology is nothing without humanity. We need to remember that. Now, this is a story about a language school in Brazil called CNA. And as you might not know, in Brazil, people speak Portuguese. They don't speak English. Most people in Brazil can't speak English at all. But they want to learn English. So there's limitations, of course. It's expensive. And there's often not enough teachers. And people don't have enough opportunities to practice their English. So it's a little bit like Chinese people in school. You learn it, but if you don't have someone to practice with, it's hard to develop your English. So they realized this. So what we did is we challenged several conventions of the language industry in Brazil by challenging the idea that the teacher had to be a professional. The second challenge was that the teacher had to be in the same room as the student.
What our students really want is to speak English fluently, and we're always thinking of ways to improve learning. How can we make it more real, more human? That connects our students with seniors in the USA living in retirement homes. The student logs into the program, chooses a senior who's online, and starts talking.
Hello? Hello.
Melissa.
Hi, Dick. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
How are you today?
I'm very excited to be doing this.
For a while, this conversation is guided with suggestions of topics, for example.
Do you have sisters and brothers?
No, I'm one child.
Only one? Oh, you poor fella.
I'm living with my old brother. He has 23 years.
Do you know, instead of saying he has 23 years, you could say he is 23 years old.
After that, they get a chance to chat freely.
That's me and my wife when we were young.
Because I wanted to put better my English.
Well, you do very well, I must say.
I see myself in a big family, with a beautiful wife.
At the end, the video of the conversation goes to a private link on our YouTube channel for teacher evaluation. And that's it.
You are my new granddaughter, and I love you.
And if you were here, I would give you a big hug.
Oh yeah, let's hug. Oh.
Bye.
I love that. I just think it's so cool. I love it for a couple of reasons. One thing, it's an executional thing maybe, but I love that old people are in it. I think, it's always a thing. Everyone puts young, good-looking people. I think if you put old people, it just makes it feels soulful, it feels real. And I would just say use more old people as a strategy. I think that's a good idea. Now, one thing seriously about this campaign, that line at the end, more than better students, better people, through this campaign, they found an insight that the way of sharing stories, it was more than just learning English. It was about learning how to be a different kind of person. So this line, better people, it's stuck. And now they use this all around Brazil. The campaign was so successful, they've now opened 20 more of these language centers. So again, this is not some scammy little thing. It's a proper big thing, and it's worked super well. I love it. Okay, I've talked about that. So look, to go back to the start, to go back to where I started with this whole thing, I wanted to talk about the process of our business. I wanted to talk about the way that we, in the age of technology and innovation, how should we do creativity? What should the process be? What's the relationship between these two things? Well, I think our feeling is that creativity, it matters more than anything else. And that might be an easy thing to say, but I think, as I said, clients are often saying, show me the technology, show me the innovation. I say, when you bring what we have, our creative G-roll, our creative muscle, early in the process, you will get to the technology naturally, effortlessly, authentically, and it will have the humanity because you're starting with creativity. And I think this is really what we think, you know, creativity, it's got to come first, and I think we should stick by this as an industry. I believe in agencies. I believe that we can do incredible things. We can create products, we can add tremendous value to our clients' business if we do this. Because creativity is what we have. We don't have technology. We get that from other companies. Creativity is what we have. And this is what clients don't have. It's what the consultancies don't have. This is how we can make money. And it's how we can go up the food chain and get paid more for what we do. So I really think this is our secret as an industry. I want us to remember that. Now, I wanted to talk about the process. So to be very practical about it, what I'm saying is from the very start, from the first meeting with the client, when the first conversation, what's the problem? That's where the creative process starts. It doesn't start in the creative department. It doesn't even start at the brief. It starts at the very first word. Just like Albert Lasker and Orange Juice. What's the problem? That's where we can actually be most creative, because that's where we can question the assumption about the definition of the problem. Interrogate the problem with your skill set. Creative people are often the best planners because they're very good at challenging assumptions. Creative people should be involved early in the process. Interrogating the problem, collaboration, Brian talked about it in his talk. I think this is something very true. But we can be creative in how we think about collaboration. Not just find a company that has a skill set that you don't have. If anyone knows Daft Punk and Pharrell Williams, the Lucky song, that to me is a very creative collaboration. Why? Because the tech band, Daft Punk, they went and got Nile Rodgers, a 1970s soul musician, to bring a different kind of feel into their music. That is a very creative collaboration for me, super successful. Obviously defining the idea, we know that, I'm not going to talk about that. And then the thing that everyone talks about is the role of innovation and technology in expressing the idea, in enabling the idea. But ladies and gentlemen, I want to say this is the right order. That the technology belongs at that end. It's the last bit, it's not the first bit. If you do it the other way around, if you start here and you go back, you end up with the joke video, the crowdsourced 3D, QR code, nonsense, blah, blah. That's what you get, something that's fake, no emotion, and everyone can see. So this is my point of view and what I want to share with everyone. At the end of the day, I think it's all about what we know to do and not being sidetracked about technology and innovation. We want to go back to core principles about the value of creativity, and about creativity is our strongest weapon in building businesses and building our own business. To put a phrase on it, I think that the greatest technology we have is our brains, and we all have it inside our heads. That's the greatest technology we have, and we should remember this in our industry. Thank you very much.